The following program is a color feature presentation on the HSM Television Network.
Now on first down, Wilson steps into it. He's picked. Intercepted by Burnett.
Tannehill is aggressively throwing for the end zone. Kenny stills, and it's a touchdown, Dolphins.
Rodgers out to his right downfield. He's got Adams. Welcome to Week 14. Touchdown, Green Bay.
Welcome to Basically a Football Show.
Basically a Football Show, Week 14 in the National Football League. And we're going to get started with Capital One Bowl Fortnite. We'll get some picks for the first week of college bowl games. Those kick off on the 17th, which is what? Saturday.
We also have an NFL game this Saturday, too. Jets in their traditional Saturday game.
We start in the NFL on Thursday. The Chiefs and the Raiders met in Kansas City. This was an interesting one. The Chiefs score all 21 points in the second quarter, but the Raiders don't look all that great throughout the game. They have their opportunities late. Derek Carr looked really off all night. I think that broken pinky is probably affecting him more than he would want to let on. The Chiefs make that 21 points stand up in a 21-13 win over the Raiders. That brings the Chiefs to 10-3 and the Raiders to 10-3 and puts the Chiefs in first place in the AFC West. The Raiders fall down to the number 5 wild card spot. You know, the Raiders have looked good. They've been exciting to watch all season, but the Chiefs just seem to have a good game plan against them. People said that, them falling from the number 1 seed to the number 5 seed, that's such a huge drop. It's a real disservice to them.
Every year, though, when you get like a division like the AFC West is right now, where you've got Denver's fallen off, but you still got Oakland and Kansas City there at 10-3. And then look at the AFC South, where it's 7-6 is leading the division right now.
Right.
And all of a sudden we've got to reseed this because so-and-so's getting screwed. No, this just happens. It happens once in a while. The Raiders at the number 5 spot are going to be just fine as they're playing the AFC South. So everybody seems to relax on that. It's just the way it works out sometimes. I mean, I saw a year Denver won 11-5, didn't even make the playoffs, and the Browns won the division at 8-8. It just happens. We saw the Saints thing a few years ago, and the Seahawks Patriots, or whatever it was.
The Patriots missed the playoffs the 1 year without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They won 11 games.
Yeah.
It definitely happens, and we get plenty of times where you get the 8-8 or the 7-9 team that makes it in, and it's the system. It does happen more than you'd probably want it to happen, but it's just the way it is.
If you're not going to reward winning a division, then you might as well just get rid of the divisions and just seed it 1 through 8 and be done with it.
I'm fine with how it is.
I am too. Completely fine with it.
Most times it works out pretty okay. The Texans got back in first place with a 22-17 win over the Colts. Andrew Luck, 3 interceptions in this game. Not great. I fought on the Andrew Luck side of things for a long time, as you know. But the more this plays out, Andrew Luck is still a very good quarterback, but he is prone to a lot of mistakes, and maybe it is still because he's trying to do it all himself and the team's not great, and I would still buy that to an extent, but he has these type of games a little too often for me.
And that's the question that always comes up in a situation like this. Is it because he's doing too much, or is he just a guy that even when he's got talent, still going to be prone to making bad decisions and trying to force the ball where it shouldn't go? And there's no way to really know until he goes to a better team. I will say this about the Colts. In this division, as weak as it is, with the Texans, who I don't think are a good team, you can't lose this game at home.
Texans 7-6. They're still tied with the Titans.
My irrational confidence Titans finally coming through after 4 years.
They beat the Broncos. This is a game at home. They were up 13-10. Broncos made a late comeback in the fourth, but what the hell? But the Broncos D still holding a team to 13 points, but that offense over the last few weeks has really started to sputter.
Yeah, it's really gotten, I would say stagnant would be a good word for it. Mm-hmm. This was, I think Marcus Mariota completed 6 passes in this game. But here's your bigger problem with the Broncos, okay? Trevor Siemian, 35 of 51 for 334 yards, only put 10 points on the board.
Well, first off,
he shouldn't be throwing that much.
Yeah, he shouldn't. Trevor Siemian is not a 51 pass attempt quarterback.
No. I watched a little bit of it. It's an ugly game, and the Titans are a pretty solid team. I mean, they're in the hunt right now for the AFC South. They're in the hunt.
We had said when we were looking at the schedules, when they have the Broncos on the schedule, there's no way the Titans can pull off this thing down the stretch. But they get this win against the Broncos, which is huge. They move to 7-6, so they're still in a tie with Houston on top of the division. In the final 3 weeks, they're at the Chiefs this week. Then they're at the Jaguars, and they finish up at home against the Texans. That game against the Texans may just be the division title game now.
I think it's going to be.
They're setting up.
I think it's going to be. I don't think that the Titans have enough to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City, but I would have to chalk up both the Jaguars and the Texans as wins at this point. That's 9-7, and I think that's more than enough to win this division. What do the Texans have left at this point on the schedule?
I'm pulling theirs up.
Jaguars at home against the Bengals, at the Titans. So they've actually got a little bit of an easier road, I think.
They've got an easier one. Knowing the Texans, they could slip up.
They are a team that I have absolutely zero faith in. None. If they win, great, but I don't have any faith in them. I don't know that I would favor them against anybody north of the Cleveland, Jacksonville, L.A. territory. Anybody north of that, I'm going to pick them at that point.
Another huge loss for the Broncos. They're 8-5, and they're back in a tie with Miami. There's only a game in front of the Ravens. And hell, we're talking about the Titans facing off the Texans for the division. The Titans are only a game behind Denver and Miami, too. This was a decent swing game in terms of tightening up that playoff picture. For the Titans, this was a huge game to put in your pocket because it was a game no one thought you were going to win. From a playoff perspective, you're thinking, okay, we've got to find a way to get around losing this one. It was a huge win for Tennessee, and I think kind of a tough loss for the Broncos. It makes them a little more vulnerable. I think they still play the Chiefs one more time. They do play the Chiefs, second to last game of the year, yeah. Speaking of tightening things up and switching spots, in the AFC, the Steelers get the win over the Bills 27-20. Huge game for the Steelers as they take first place in the AFC North back. Le'Veon Bell just had himself a game on Sunday. Yeah. In the snow in Buffalo. 38 carries, 236, 3 TDs. If they can get pretty good defense out of their defense, they've got the offense. And I still like this team as my representative out of the AFC for the Super Bowl. Now they're in the driver's seat. They're back in first place. They still get the Ravens one more time, so they could put this thing away and look out. Yeah, a big win for them. We'll swing over to the NFC now. Redskins 27-22 over the Eagles. Important win for the Redskins to just keep things on track to stay in that hunt there. The Eagles have really fallen off after a nice start. Yeah. What do you think of Carson Wentz now? I'm still buying his stock. I still think he's going to be a good quarterback, but he's a rookie. And let's be honest about it. This Eagles team probably wasn't as good as their start would have made you think. They're short on the personnel side, and once they fill some holes and stuff, they're going to be a pretty good team. I'm still sold on them. I still think of, if you're asking me who I'd rather have, Wentz or Goff, I'm taking Wentz every time. Yeah, well, yeah, based on how things have gone so far, I'd agree. The Dolphins get things back on track with a big win at home over the Cardinals, 26-23. Big win for the Dolphins to moved up to 8-5. They tie the Broncos for that final spot. They lose the tiebreaker. But the other thing they lose, Ryan Tannehill out for the season with an ACL injury. They were talking about this with Bill Simmons and cousin Sal. Is Tannehill down to Matt Moore? That's not quite like losing Brady. I don't agree with them, but I will say that the drop-off, and maybe it's not as devastating to the Dolphins as we think it is. I also think Tannehill is a little bit better than we give him credit for, but some people are saying that this might not be that bad a thing for the Dolphins. Maybe in terms of passing ability, in terms of just being a straight-up pocket quarterback, I'd agree. But Tannehill does a little bit more than that. Tannehill can still move and get you some yards on the ground. If the Dolphins could just rework their game plan a little bit, keep focusing on Jay and have that more be effective. Whether it's a talent drop-off or not, Tannehill's been your guy all season. That's been your quarterback, and now you've got to put a new guy in there. And I don't care if they're equal on the talent level. There's still going to be a transitional period, and you're at the point of the season where you don't have time to transition. You just got to keep winning. The Chargers and Panthers played each other. Yeah. Panthers won 28-16. The Chargers all of a sudden have gone from that team that had bad luck to now they're just not a good team. I think that also comes with what happened. If you lose those games, you can either keep fighting or you can just be like, all right, this is done. We got to start looking at apartments in LA anyway. Right. Speaking of teams cities having a tough time, your Cleveland Browns are 0-13, Greg. Okay, I've asked it a bunch of times. I'm going to ask again. Yeah. Do they win a game this season? I'm saying no, they don't. No, I thought the Bengals were probably one of their only shots to do it. They still have San Diego yet. Okay. I don't think they're going to win a game, but their best shot is against the Chargers. If they're going to win one, that's going to be the one they win, but I'm thinking they go 0-16. I'm thinking so, too. Because you don't want to be that team that loses to the Browns. I don't care who you are. It's not even that they're losing all these games. They're not even competitive. I don't know if they really have a scrappy, bad luck loss on them. They're just a bad football team.
Early in the season, they had a couple games they let get away from them, but really, they're just not good. Now, they've also got a huge stockpile of draft picks. They've got a ton of cap room for next year, so maybe this is part of the plan. Maybe Hugh Jackson said, look, we've got to go through this to get to where we want to be, and that's fine. But this is not a good football team. Did you see Robert Griffin? He came back to start this week?
No, I didn't.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's just a comedy of errors. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it anymore. This has got to be rock bottom, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Browns have been pretty bad, but they've never gone 0-16. That will definitely be a low point. The Lions had to pull one out in the fourth quarter, but they keep things on track with a 20-17 win over the Bears.
Wait, the Lions had to come back in the fourth quarter? Shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's just kind of the way the Lions live. But, hey, like we talked about before, they're the good side of the Chargers story where they win those tight games. 9-4, leading the division. Things are hunky-dory. They got a 2-game lead. I think we can go ahead and lock in the Lions as a playoff team, right?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Let's see what the division looks like the rest of the way.
There's 3 games left.
At Giants, at Cowboys, Packers. This could go south on them quick.
If they lose the next 2, then they would have to play for the Packers for the division lead. If the Packers can stay hot, yeah.
Packers have at the Bears versus Vikings at home at the Lions. So the Packers definitely have the easier road. You brought up the Chargers, and I just thought of this. Looking at the Chargers and the Lions side by side, do you think the Lions are significantly more talented than the Chargers are?
Stafford versus Rivers, defense on defense, running back, so they don't really have.
If you really think about it, they're kind of the same team. It's just one had bad luck, the other one had good luck.
We see that a lot in the NFL, where you get some of these teams that it just depends on the schedule that they get handed on a given year and some luck.
Yeah.
There is a group of teams in the middle that if things bounce one way or another, some of these teams are 9-4, some of them are 5-8, 4-9.
That's not a knock on the Lions either. I think the Lions are a pretty talented team. I also think the Chargers are a talented team. It's just that you want to talk about the perfect example of how a bounce here, an inch on a spot there can change a whole lot of things. There is your example. Well,
and you look at it, I mean, the Chargers are in arguably the best division in football, and then the Lions are in one of the weaker ones.
Yeah.
All things considered, and one's at the bottom, one's at the top.
Yep.
Like if you put the Chargers in the NFC North, they're fighting for a playoff spot. I think
so.
At the very least,
you put them in the AFC South, they probably got a 4-game lead.
You put the Lions in the AFC West, they're probably just as bad as the Chargers are.
Yeah. It's just a very interesting dynamic. I thought they're very, very similar. I think talent-wise, and you can just see that what a difference a little bit of luck and a little bit of scheduling makes.
The Vikings, they move up to 7-6. They get a win over the Jags, 25-16. So things are staying pretty tight there in the NFC North. Jets, 49ers, they decided that these fan bases haven't seen enough of them, so they played a little more. They went into overtime, and the Jets finally pulled out a win.
Came from 17 points back, too, by the way, to win that game.
And the 49ers are just happy the Rams laid that egg on opening night, or they'd be fighting with the Browns for 0-13.
Oh, how great would 2 0-16 teams have been. That would have been awesome.
Saints, Buccaneers keep their playoff hopes on track with a 16-11 win over the Saints. The Bucs looking all right. They finally get a home win. They haven't been great at home, but they're 8-5 overall.
8-5. Well, I would have never guessed that with these guys.
The game I know you've been waiting to talk about the most, Greg.
We're going to get the Falcons-Rams. Good.
No. The Packers have been up and down. It's been so hard to put a real pin on them, but they've started to get things together. They've got 3 wins in a row after a 38-10 beatdown of the Seahawks in Lambeau. Russell Wilson, 5 interceptions. Packers are 7-6. They're a game out of a playoff spot, 2 games out of the division lead. So they're hanging around, but they're starting to look a little dangerous if they could put things together as we kind of outlined down the stretch.
Are we looking at shades of 2010 here where the Pack kind of caught fire at the end of the season and rolled right into a Super Bowl? I hope so.
I don't know. It just seems like they're too far outside for that to be a realistic thing.
Well, but you never know. All they got to do is get in. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think you're right. I think Detroit can still find a way to hang on and win that division. But 10-6 gets them in. Maybe 9-7 if things go the right way. But here's something I wanted to point out that I heard while listening to part of this game on Sirius XM radio. This was the first time the Seahawks had lost by more than 10 points in 95 games.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And I just got to say this, too. Being the avid Seahawks and Russell Wilson hater that I am, and being a Packers fan, this was glorious. I loved every minute of this. It was awesome. Yeah,
It was
just loved it.
It was pretty interesting to see that kind of go down. And kind of a bad loss for the Seahawks. With the loss, they moved down from the bye spot to the 3rd seed. The Lions currently hold the number 2 seed in the NFC. That's such a weird sight to see, isn't it?
There were a couple games this week that put like a big seismic shift on where we thought things were going to be to where they could be. 2 weeks ago, the thought of some of the things that are possible now seemed impossible, and all of a sudden they're in play. It's getting very interesting towards the end here.
That's why the NFL is great, because it's such a small season that once you get down to the end here, you get big swings with just one game.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of the beauty of this league, and really the beauty of football is it just one game can swing a lot of things.
You go back and look what we were talking about, say, like at week 8. We're like, man, the football's not very good. It's kind of a boring season. Look where we are now. It's getting pretty darn exciting.
Yeah, things have really picked up. Well, they've picked up everywhere else except Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, they kind of picked up there, too, but not in the way you'd want to.
So the Atlanta Falcons, through 3 quarters, scored more touchdowns in Los Angeles than the Rams have scored in Los Angeles this season. The Falcons scored 6 touchdowns. The Rams have scored 5 offensive in their own city so far this season.
Oh, wow.
So they were down 42-0 after 3. The Rams got a couple late, but it didn't matter. It was 42-14. Falcons, and that ultimately was the last straw for Jeff Fisher as he was fired Monday morning. It wasn't necessarily a question of what was going to happen. Fisher was going to be fired unless the Rams were truly that inept that they were going to really keep him on. It was kind of a more surprising when, with a short week, you're playing on Thursday, only got 3 games left of the season. Why bother doing this now?
I think that a big part of it, something must have happened behind the scenes that really set off somebody else, because to fire him going into a short week like this isn't just a, you know what, it's time. Something happened that made them pull the trigger on this. I don't know what it was.
Supposedly there had been a lot of bad blood brewing over the season between him and the GM, Les Snead, who probably isn't safe at his job either.
No.
But it's not unwelcome. Like, as a Rams fan, I'm pleased to see Jeff Fisher out. Enjoy your contract extension, hush money. I was listening to all the talk about it, and Colin Cowherd put out on a show, and I'm sure this is probably just him being who he is, but he's like, oh, Jeff Fisher will get a job, immediately. He'll be on the top of every coaching list in the offseason.
He probably will be.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? Why would any team that is in need of a winning head coach go get Jeff Fisher at this point?
The argument he could make, I suppose, is that his teams, you could always say, like with this Rams team, his complaint was we don't have enough depth. Or you might say, okay, his tenure with the Rams in St. Louis, well, we never really had a good quarterback, but look what we did. We were still pretty solid. We had a couple of close to 500 seasons with no offensive talent. It's not a difficult case to make. It's a stupid case to fall for, but it's not a tough one to make.
But here's the thing. If you're a team that's going to be looking for a coach, a veteran-type coach to maybe get them back up to a 500-type level, are you going to want Jeff? Like, you're not. If you're a winning team, you're not going to go after Jeff Fisher.
No.
Or if you're a winning team, first off, you're not looking for a new coach. The teams that are going to be looking for a new coach are going to be very similar to the Rams teams he's had over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
He's not going to be any better as an NFL coach. I really think his time has come and gone. I think he's really kept up with the game. So John Fossil, the special teams coach, comes in, the son of Jim Fossil.
Yeah. When I first read it, I thought, I'm like, Jim Fossil, seriously? And like, is he still around? But then it was his son. Okay.
All season, I had actually been confused, and I thought that he was the guy that had coached the Giants previously. But no, he
took the Giants to the Super Bowl in 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Where they got dismantled by the Ravens.
It's the credit to the one thing the Rams are actually pretty damn good at is special teams. Their kickoff and punt coverage has been excellent.
The punt coverage has got to be pretty good because they do it all the time.
Yeah, well,
practice makes perfect.
Johnny Hecker, to his credit, is probably the best punter, or at least one of the best punters in the league right now.
See what you're hanging your hat on if you're a Rams fan?
Yes. Don't laugh at me that I was going to buy the punter's jersey this season. That's where we're at.
I think it's a smart move for the Rams. Like I said, somewhere along the way something happened because to fire him on a short week like this, that means that there was some behind-the-scenes wrangling going on that they just couldn't get past.
Yeah, they said that it's the best time to start moving forward or some nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do it, just write out the last 3 weeks. Who the hell cares?
All I know is there was an article on Peter King's Monday Morning Quarterback website. Albert Breer, I believe, wrote it. And it was titled Rams Junior High. Read that article and you'll get a really good idea of why they're so dysfunctional out there right now.
Yeah. Well, and the title of that article comes from Todd Gurley saying that they look like a middle school offense.
He's right. I mean, I know people are like, oh, he should keep his mouth shut. No, he's right. And he's right. There are players going through the motions with that team right now. He told the truth. Sorry that you don't like it.
People are saying, well, there's guys with more experience. Why are they picking John Fossil as the interim head coach? Do you really want Greg Williams to be your interim head coach?
Well, no, because
Greg Williams has put together terrible defenses over time, and he's the bounty gate guy.
Not only that, but he's got enough of a name where then he has to be put into the conversation as the potential replacement head coach, and you don't want that either.
No. The thing that blows my mind is supposedly the guy that's at the top of the list is Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
He's making, $9 million to coach in Michigan?
It's not even that. You're going to run into the same situation the 49ers ran into. He's going to be good for 2 or 3 years, and by the end of that, the players and the front office are going to be so sick of him, you're going to be right back here again in 3 years.
He's great for college.
Yeah.
If I were him, I wouldn't want him to move.
No, I don't even know. I mean, I think I even read somewhere those people were like, we don't even know where this is coming from. Another one I heard, though, that I thought was a little more interesting was David Shaw from Stanford. That might be interesting.
David Shaw, Josh McDaniels.
If I'm the Rams and I'm Stan Kroenke, I'm going with as much of an established NFL coach as I can get. Stay away from the college coaches. It rarely ever works out.
Yeah, from bad teams to good teams. To Sunday Night Football, the Giants pick up their second win of the season over the Cowboys, 10-7. Really shut down the Cowboys in this one, and the Cowboys' offense is starting to sputter a little bit. Giving some eyes of, well, when do we see Tony Romo? But I don't know if we're ready to go that far yet.
This is the nice thing about having Romo as your backup. If Prescott does end up getting into trouble or not being able to get it done the rest of the way, what a great guy to be able to go to. Mm-hmm. And now you've got a situation where if they do have to go to Tony Romo at some point, the team's going to be there with you. Whereas if Jerry Jones had forced him into the lineup when he became healthy, that changes the whole dynamic. Now they're in a much better spot.
I think if the Cowboys go and lose next week, I think it's Tony time.
That's what I wanted to bring up. The Cowboys were sitting pretty there, and now all of a sudden they're in a position where they could end up losing the division. On Saturday, we thought the Cowboys have got this thing locked up. Here we are on Tuesday, and we're going maybe not so much.
When we were talking about the Packers, like maybe they sneak up out of the outside to win the playoffs, I think the Giants are that team right now.
Oh,
the
yeah,
team
definitely.
Nobody really wants to play.
Absolutely. We brought it up a couple weeks back that the Giants are having one of those sneaky, all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl seasons, and I think they're right there again.
And then on Monday nights, the Patriots, things got a little scary there for a minute for the Pats, but they pulled things out 30-23. They moved to 11-2. They're number one seed in the AFC again with the Oakland loss. And the Ravens fall to 7-6. They fall out of the playoff picture for the moment, and they fall out of the division lead finally with the loss. Even though it ended up being a 7-point game, the score does not indicate how this game went, I don't think.
The Ravens were in it for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the Patriots are just – they're clicking now. Despite not having Gronk, despite, Martellus Bennett also being injured, despite some of their best players not in there, they get Chris Hogan to catch 5 balls for 129 yards.
Well, something about Gronk, too, and I don't remember where I heard this, but do you know that they win like 75% of the games he doesn't play in? I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the guy as a player, all that, but we've got to remember, these are the Patriots. I don't know that one guy is that important to them.
He makes them better, for sure, but it's just insane what they can do in terms of just plugging and playing guys. And even defensively, they've had a lot of issues defensively, moving guys around, trading guys, some of these bigger name guys that were supposed to be impact players for them. And here they are. They're 11-2. They're just fine. They're perfectly okay.
I do think right now in the AFC, the only team that I like to beat them would be the Steelers at this point. I don't have any faith in the Raiders or the Chiefs going into Foxborough and winning in the playoffs. I think the Steelers are the one team that could do it.
Moving on to college football, and we're getting ready for the start of Capital One, Bowl Month, Bowl Fortnight, Bowl Trifecta.
How about Bowl Era?
Bowl Era, Bowl Epic. Yeah. So, but before we get to that, just to clear up the last little bit of college football news, in case you were surprised or didn't know, Lamar Jackson is indeed your Heisman Trophy winner over the weekend. Pretty easy choice, as has been kind of outlined all season, but finally put a cap on that race, and Lamar Jackson gets the Heisman.
In a shock to absolutely no one.
Yeah, he got to party with Johnny Manziel in his hotel room afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know if that was probably the best move he could have made, really.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's weirder that or if it's worse for Lamar Jackson going to hang out with Johnny Manziel, or the fact that Johnny Manziel wanted to go hang out with the college kid. Yeah,
in any case, it's not the best thing Lamar Jackson could have done. I got to think NFL scouts are going to take a look at that and go, not so crazy about those optics, but okay.
We'll see. He's a sophomore, so he still has to play another year. So he's got time. But we'll move on to the Bulls. And this year, Greg and I are going to pick every single one of the 33,000 Bulls that are played in the NCAA Division I. We're going to do it week by week. We're not going to do it all at once. We got to save some content.
Right.
So the Bulls start this Saturday, December 17th, with a slate of 5 bowls on Saturday.
Yep.
We start early with the the Gildan New Mexico Bowl. Gildan, your maker of fine T-shirts everywhere.
I will endorse that. They do make a fine T-shirt. I will say that for them.
This game being played at University Stadium in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is the home stadium for the New Mexico Lobos, who are playing in this game and seem to play in it every single year. Kind of a dumb thing.
Well, I guess that's why they call it the New Mexico Bowl.
It really is, yeah. It's the bowl New Mexico plays in. But it'll be a local affair. New Mexico will host Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners versus the Lobos. Who you got?
Well, I would say that it would be easy to go with the favorite in this game, but I've got a hunch. I'm going to take the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners for the win in this one.
I want to jump on that too, but just because it's like New Mexico, it's like, well, we're playing at home. Who cares? Why does it matter? New Mexico's a 7-point favorite currently. For the hell of it, I'll go New Mexico. We'll see if we can.
Okay.
We'll see if we can be different enough starting right off. And New Mexico's 8-4. Texas San Antonio 6-6. Although San Antonio did give a tight game to ASU.
Here's my reasoning for taking Texas San Antonio. First off, I like the nickname Roadrunners.
Sure.
Secondly, to me, and maybe I'm wrong because I know very little about either one of these teams, it just seems to me like this would be a really big deal for Texas San Antonio, where New Mexico's like, great, another home game. I mean, they don't even get to go anywhere. So
True.
I'm looking at it from that aspect, and I think that Texas San Antonio is going to be excited to be there. That's why I'm picking them.
All right. We'll move on to the Las Vegas Bowl, presented by Geico. I like that one was the Royal Purple Las Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, I still don't quite understand what Royal Purple was, but I liked it.
I believe it was a motor oil, but
okay,
who knows? Las Vegas Bowl, presented by Geico at UNLV. Your participants, this is actually a damn good game.
Yeah, it is.
Houston, 9-3 on the season, will take on Mountain West finalists. Or did they win it? I don't remember. San Diego State at 10-3. Houston is a 3.5-point favorites to open up.
Wow. This is a tough call because this is going to be a good game. I mean, it's an early bowl game and all that, but if you just want some entertaining college football, I would highly recommend this game. I'm going to go with the Cougars. I think Houston takes this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then wait a minute though. Hold on. I forgot about the whole coaching thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sometimes a team can say, okay, we're going to be inspired. Screw the coach. We're going to go out and win in spite of him.
Yeah.
And
Tom
sometimes
Tumbler and the coach at Texas, for those that don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch that. You know what? I think Houston's going to be reeling from the loss of their coach. I'm going to go with the San Diego State Aztecs in this one.
I'm going to go SDSU also, just to get a little West Coast love. And their running back has gone kind of sorely overlooked. Darnell Pumphrey. I'm messing up his name even, but he's been one of the leading rushers in the NCAA this season. He's had a great game or a great season, and I think he's broken a couple Marshall Faulk records there, so I like the Aztecs.
Well, not only that, but the Aztecs have the added incentive of knocking off a team that was ranked pretty highly earlier in the year, so there's always that too.
I know where you're going to go with this next one. I think that you're obligated to. But the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, pits the 9-3 Appalachian State Mountaineers. Remember when Appalachian State was a 1AA team?
Yep.
Look at them now. They're in a bowl game. Playing your 9-3 Toledo Rockets. The line is an even pick'em as of right now.
I am going to take, surprisingly, I'm going with the Appalachian State in this one.
Okay.
I just have a feeling. I think this might be their first bowl appearance. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I just got a good feeling about the Mountaineers in this one. So I'm sorry. I love your Rockets, but I got to pick with my brain here, not my heart. I think Appalachian State takes this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Big one. I'll pick for your heart. I'll go Toledo.
Okay.
I don't have any reason. I like the Rockets better than Mountaineers.
I love my Toledo Rockets, but I got a feeling that the Appalachian State Mountaineers are gonna. You know what's interesting about both these teams? They both beat Michigan within a year of each other in the Big House.
There you go.
Don't see that happen too often.
Next up, you have the Auto Nation Cure Bowl from Camping World Stadium in Orlando. I love all these things. They're so stupid. You get UCF playing in this game, who's from Orlando, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're 6-6. They'll be taking on the Arkansas State Red Wolves, who are 7-5. The UCF is a 5.5-point favorite.
I like the Knights in this one, and I'll also add one more thing about UCF. Despite Florida State, Florida, et cetera, UCF is the biggest college in the state of Florida. I don't know if you knew that or not. Yep. I like the Knights in this one. It's a home game for them, and I'm just going to go with them because I like them better. So I'm taking UCF.
I'm going to go Arkansas State.
All right.
Because I know a kid that they recruited last year, and he's really good. And they also have one of Torrey Hunter's sons.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a good reason to pick him as any, but I'm sticking with my UCF. What are they, Golden Knights or are they the Black Knights?
Are they the Golden Knights?
Or are they just the plain old Knights? I think they're just the plain old Knights.
I think they're just the plain old Knights.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Arkansas State Red Wolves. Plus, that's Red Wolves. Come on.
Yeah.
The R&L Carrier New Orleans Bowl will be your nightcap. Southern Miss, 6-6, will take on the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns, who again seem to play in this game every single damn year. This being played at the Superdome in New Orleans. Southern Miss is a 4.5-point favorite.
I'm going Raging Cajuns in this one.
Raging Cajuns, yeah. Yeah, I think
this is going to be a pretty good game, too, though. I think these are pretty evenly matched teams. I think this will be a solid football game to watch if you just want to watch some good college football.
I like Louisiana Lafayette in this game, too. Raging Cajuns is always one of the better nicknames in college sports. And it's a home game. And from what I understand, from what I remember in past when I would be just kind of around and have this game on, they usually do pretty well in it. So
yeah,
we'll go with that. So those are the games on Saturday. We shift to Monday, December 19th, where we get the Miami Beach Bowl played in Marlins Park in Miami. You get 6-6 Central Michigan and 9-3 Tulsa. Tulsa, 11.5-point favorite.
Is there a worse place for college football? And believe me, I love Marlins Stadium, but you talk about your mismatched aesthetic. Come on. Is there a worse place for college football than that stadium? I mean, just from a look standpoint, it's going to be ridiculous. I love it.
Let me sell this to you. Central Michigan, Tulsa, in a baseball stadium in Miami with a fish tank and a exploding dolphin in center field.
Do we even know what that thing in center field is called? Does it even have a name?
No, I don't.
I've heard it referred to as the object. What was it? The other one? I think they called it the piece. Nobody even knows what it is. I love it. From a baseball standpoint, I love the whole park. I'm going with the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes in this one.
Yeah, I think Tulsa is probably a good bet here. 9-3. Central Michigan, they had that big win over Oklahoma State during the season. but they won't beat 2 Oklahoma teams in 1 year. So we'll go.
And Tulsa's actually a pretty good football team, so I like them in an easy win over Central Michigan. Sorry, Chips, but that's the way it goes.
Tuesday, December 20th, we have the Boca Raton Bowl at FAU Stadium in Boca Raton. FAU, by the way, getting a new head coach, Lane Kiffin.
Way to go, Lane. Way to work your way right down that ladder of success.
Well, you know what? I heard before we get to the bowl, I heard a good point where somebody said, this is the starter job that he should have taken 10 years ago.
You know, you're absolutely right. That's a very good point.
Like, instead of going straight to coaching USC and then straight to coaching the Raiders, if Lane Kiffin had really worked his way up through the system and started a lower program like an FAU, then went on to a Tennessee, and then went on to USC or Alabama or something like that, he'd probably be better, for one, and two, probably a little bit more well-respected.
Right, and he would have a much better idea of how things work. I mean, he got thrust into some pretty big jobs with really not much of a resume to warrant where he got put. So this is, from that standpoint, I agree. It's a good move. He should have done it 10 years ago, but this will humble him. That's for sure. And
he has a much longer leash at a place like FAU than he would at Tennessee or USC.
Yeah.
And he's done a great job as the Alabama offensive coordinator. And that helps when you have the kind of talent that Alabama will bring in, but still.
Yeah.
But anyway, the game itself, the Boca Raton Bowl, pits 8-4 Memphis versus 10-3 Western Kentucky. The Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky are 4.5-point favorites.
I'm going with the Hilltoppers because A, I love the nickname. B, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have great uniforms. And C, I've got family in Kentucky, so got to stick with the homeboys. So Western Kentucky for me.
I'll go Memphis Tigers. They upset a couple teams this year. I believe they beat Houston earlier in the year. And they have those chrome helmets. So
yeah, that's true.
Do we want to move on to the 21st?
Yeah, we'll make that our cutoff point for this week because we record on the 19th next week, so that should put us in pretty good shape.
So we'll move to the 21st Wednesday. The San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl in spacious Qualcomm Stadium. In San Diego. You get the 8-4 BYU Cougars and the 8-4 Wyoming Cowboys.
I think
this is a 9-point favorite.
I think this is going to be a good game, better than the odds makers think it's going to be. This Wyoming Cowboys team, again, I'm going to use the same argument I used for Appalachian State and for Texas San Antonio. This is a big deal for them to get to this bowl game, whereas BYU, they've played either in the Holiday Bowl or the Poinsettia Bowl for I don't even know how many years now, but it seems like they make a yearly trip to San Diego to play in one of those two bowl games. The Cowboys, a program back, coming back out of after years in the desert or whatever. I like the Cowboys in this one.
Yeah, the Cowboys coming off a loss in the Mountain West title game to San Diego State. BYU has been, from like an outside point of view, they've been kind of a frustrating team. Their offense is a little challenged over the course of the season. The over-under on this game is only 56 points, and that probably tells you why. But I think Wyoming can score some points, and I, too, will go with the Wyoming Cowboys, one of the few schools that can proudly sport a brown and gold color scheme like my high school alma mater did. And people always look down on the brown and gold schools for obvious sophomoric reasons, but
yeah,
I think it's a proud color scheme.
I think it's a great color scheme, and I think the San Diego Padres should follow the lead of the Wyoming Cowboys and get back to it as soon as possible. You know what?
Yeah, that's true. A brown and gold team playing in San Diego, it only makes sense.
Right, and I'm just going to say, just for safety's sake, let's throw in the Idaho Potato Bowl just to be sure that we have ourselves covered until next week.
Okay, we'll do one more just for safety purposes. Thursday, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. It's not just the Idaho Potato Bowl. It's the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Played at Albertsons Stadium in Boise, Idaho. That's a shopping...
that's a grocery store.
Grocery store. Those that don't know. You get Idaho, the Idaho Vandals, who normally play in like a basketball arena.
Yeah, it's like a big inflated tent with stands or something. It's the weirdest place I've ever seen.
It's the stupidest place in college football to host a game, but Idaho has it. They're 8-4. They'll be playing the Colorado State Rams, 7-5 is CSU.
Boy, that's a tough one to call.
I have a better season than normal. CSU is a 13.5-point favorite, and I'm going to go with the line. I like Colorado State because generally Idaho is terrible, and I don't think that they're ready to even play in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got to go with the Colorado State Rams in this one. That's just Idaho. I mean, Idaho's basically like the last step before Division II to me. I mean, they are.
You're kind of right. No, I don't disagree.
Yeah. I mean, they're a Division I school, but they're just right on the border. And as far as like the size of the program, the facilities and all that, I'm going to go with Colorado State.
I think isn't Idaho's like stadium not actually up to like Division I regulations?
It might not be. I mean, I don't know. If people haven't seen it, Google it and check it out. It is the strangest place you're ever going to see a football game being played. It's just weird.
It literally looks like they're playing football in a barn.
Yeah, it's called the Kibbe Dome.
Kibbe Dome.
The Kibbe Dome is the name of it. And look it up. You're going to be surprised at how weird it really is.
Yeah. But I kept track of all those. We got them typed up. We'll keep track of the results during the week, and we'll come back to it next week. Get ready for some hot bowl action.
Hell yeah. I love it, man. Give me all a Capital One Bowl fortnight you want. I love it.
But that's all we got for college football. Any last thoughts before we head out here?
Just keep going, Packers. We got to just keep on winning right all the way through to wherever the Super Bowl's at this year, which is where? No, not San Diego. Where the hell is it this year? Houston. All the way to Houston, Pack. Let's go.
You know what? Go 7-9. Win your last 3 games. Do it. See what you're made of.
And I will just close with this by saying that I would rarely ever recommend watching a Thursday night game for uniforms, but the Rams will be wearing the old blue and white helmets that I love so much in this game, so check that out too. Yes, Greg's favorite uniform makes a slight cameo. Yes. At least in helmet. One of my favorites. Not my all-time favorite, but one of my favorites. Follow us on all of our platforms. Enjoy the NFL and enjoy the bowl football.